This is That Exciting Dude, and you know the drill. That's right, this is That Exciting Dude, otherwise known as Ted. This is going to be a very interesting podcast. I will tell you why this is going to be an interesting podcast. Because I have the hiccups. So, this will be interesting, like I said. Alright, but before we start, you know the drill. Gotta do the podcast intro. Welcome to Stories, Lies, and Shenanigans. I am your captain speaking, That Exciting Dude, or as some people say, Ted. Alright, you know the drill. Let's follow, share this, hit the heart, hit the X, whatever it is, like it. Alright, you are most likely listening on one of these platforms, but there are others. Maybe one will suit you better than where you found me. I am currently on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Deezer, Castbox, and Podchaser. And yes, I finally have made it onto the Apple world. I am in iTunes. Hooray for Apple, finally getting me on that system. Alright, like I said, I have the hiccups. So, and the only reason why I'm going along with the hiccups is because I've been trying for the past half hour to get rid of them. I've done all the tricks, all the mumbo jumbo, all the New Orleans magic. Yeah. Alright, lastly, we need to give thanks to Brock Hewitt Stories and Sound, called Ages Ago. Artist Heartsman, his sound beat, whatever you want to call it, it's called Paradise Island. Then lastly, the last artist is Tropicana, and his beat or sound roll is called, well, Sound Roll. As I was reading that. Those last three are all from upbeat.com, UPPBAT.com. And because I don't put that information in my description, that's why I voiced it in the beginning of the podcast. So, like I said, I have the hiccups. In case you haven't already heard me do the thing, water time. For those that don't know, whenever I'm drinking something or it's going to go into a silence mode, I'm typically telling you, like, hey, it's time to go get a drink. So I encourage you, do the same. You can, what does the Sandra Bullock say in Demolition? You can match my meat. So when I drink, you drink. But, so without further ado, before we get started, as always, I like to do a little sports. I know a lot of people are like, but this is the podcast. This isn't a sports podcast. I used to do a sports podcast, and I think I kind of miss it, but I don't miss it, because it was a lot of work. So I always try to put a little sprinkle of sports in the beginning of this podcast. So if you're not a huge sports person, just fast forward about 3, 5, 6 minutes, and you should be through it. Because I try to just like quickly be to the point, do some big hit news, and that's like it. So, in sports, this is what we get. The Texans, this is NFL. So in NFL, the Texans beat the Bengals. The Vikings beat the Saints. And probably the most surprising one was actually the Monday night game, which the Broncos beat the Bills, which was pretty exciting. College football, Michigan beat Penn State, and probably the big news really with this is, and I'm not going to go into the logistics, but basically, Jim Harbaugh is suspended for 3 games, which I think is the rest of the season. I really haven't looked into it. Bad PR. And then my Notre Dame, they had a bye week, so they must have won. Yeah, that's how that works. The NHL front, my Red Wings, they've had some L's and some W's. L's for losses, W's for wins. But this week is actually an exciting week for the NHL, because like the NFL that has gone overseas, the NHL is doing the same thing, and they're going overseas to Stockholm, Sweden for a few games. And it is going to be 4 teams. One of those teams is my beloved Red Wings. The others include the Ottawa Senators, Toronto Maple Leafs, and the Minnesota Wild. You can catch these games. I think they're all like afternoon games, like 1 p.m. And it's November 16th to the 19th. If you go to NHL.com, it's like a huge banner. At least it was when I went there today to the website. So yeah, there's that. Alright, enough of this sports. I am not going to lie, I did not write anything down other than the sports part and drink. And so I have no idea what we're going to talk about. Now, we just got done with Veterans Day this past week. So I've, thinking about it, maybe I will, maybe we'll throw a little sports, or not sports, a little Navy in here. I think I might try to dig up a story or two of the Navy. I know I've already told a few, and I've not written down what I have told. So yeah, that's a little interesting. I need to go back and figure out which little moments of time I have told already. I know a few of them right off the bat. There's a few of them that I'm like, I don't know. I mean, there are so many stories I could just fill the brain. A lot of them do include alcohol, and there's many that don't. But that's besides the point. Alright, so as I'm mustering up a thought of what are we going to talk about today, I'm going to move the mic here, so you might hear a little screech, maybe not. Alright, I think I did it pretty good. We're gonna try and figure out what to. I'm like moving things on my desk, knocking crap over. I'm being a very good podcaster right now, not drink. Alright, so I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of give a little cliff notey of my whole 4-year Navy career. So that's where I'm leaning. I think that's what I'm going to do. Now, I'm just going to keep this kind of shell-like. Let's see, I got to think of how I want to do this. Let's see, I got to think of all the places that I've been. Let me, as we ramble here, let me get the other brain, the other half working on how I want to start this out. Drink, sorry, didn't say it. And I know what you're thinking, like, start out where you started. Good point. I guess I'll do that. So, I graduated high school in June of 2000. November of 1999. Early November, I don't remember the exact date. Without my parents' knowledge, they approved of it, but I joined the Navy. I was held, long story short, I was held back, so I was old enough by this point. I was 18 going into my senior year. So I didn't need, parental consent to join the military. So So like I said, November 99 I really joined. I was in, oh man, I'm really using my brain this time. Whatever the program was that they do before you go into boot camp. I forget what the acronym was for it. Basically, I'd go to the recruiter and they'd go over Navy stuff, or we'd do basically stuff to get ready for boot camp. Sometimes we'd do some calisthenics, we'd do some running, some push-ups and sit-ups and all that good stuff. So I graduated high school, had about a 2-week vacation, and then boom, June 18th. June 19th, I head off to boot camp. So not much of a vacation. I mean, I think in all it was about 3 weeks, maybe a month. So I know being a senior, you always leave like a little bit earlier than the rest of the high school. So it was probably third week of May I got off, and so about 3 weeks, maybe a month, give or take. Of it's what I had for vacation. So drink. So I get to boot camp. I actually thought boot camp was actually pretty fun. I know a lot of people say you're crazy for saying that, but it was. I went to a boot camp that they didn't even have a live firing range. I mean, everyone's like, oh, of course, you're going to be on a ship. But they were actually building a live fire range when I was going through boot camp. But the whole time that we partook in the firing range, it was all, we're all lasered, which you kind of laugh and joke at first, but they were pretty darn accurate. They were pretty functional, and everyone's like, oh, we're gonna get 100 on this. Yeah, I think like the best score to my knowledge was like a 70 or 80 or something like that. So I did boot camp, got through there. Then from boot camp, took a flight down to Pensacola, Florida, which is the home of the Blue Angels and all of the aviation schools. Well, I shouldn't say all because I don't know that factoid for sure, but if I really had to put my money on it, I was going to say all, or at least 98% of all of the aviation schooling is in Pensacola, Florida. And so I went down there. I was there for 3 weeks. Now, to back up to the recruiter, I had a signing bonus of, I think it was like $2,000, maybe it was $1,000. I had a signing bonus. I went in undesignated, which means I didn't have a job. So when I finally was able to take the third petty officer testing, I had to strike for a job. We'll get to that later. So Pensacola, normally like people that have a job in the Navy, they're going to go to their schooling and they'll spend, I don't know what they range, I'll just say 6 months in Pensacola. Maybe there's some that are less, maybe there's some that are more. But basically some time in the Pensacola area. Me, all the people that went in undesignated, it was about a 3 week, maybe 4 weeks at the most that we were there. So after that, then I went to go join my squadron, which was out in California, which was base that I was stationed to was NAS Lemoore, which was about 45 minutes south of Fresno in the Central Valley. Get out to the squadron, no one's there. They're already on the ship. They were doing their thing in the Gulf. Enough people between the other squadrons that were deployed on that particular ship, which was the USS Abraham Lincoln. When enough of us sailors got together, they finally We took a flight, which is a whole different story in itself. I'll just say there were problems from the get-go, but we finally made it to the ship, joined the ship halfway through their cruise, finished coming back with them on their cruise. Got to visit a lot of sites. Well, I'll tell you. So I finished the cruise with them. Like I said, I joined up with them in the Persian Gulf, and they didn't hit any ports on the way to the Gulf because there was a lot of things that went wrong. I know there's a lot of weather issues. I really don't totally remember. I remember weather being one of them. I think for one, like I said, for one of their port calls. But nonetheless, I got the back half of it, which we stopped places. We went to Perth, Australia, and Hobart, Tasmania, and then I don't think we stopped in Hawaii on that one. I don't remember if we did or didn't. I'm having a big brain fart right there. I don't think we did stop in Hawaii. Basically, we just steamed right to San Diego. So, in the Navy. So when I joined the squadron, so I worked on jets, F-18 Charlies. But when we got back from this cruise that I joined in the middle of, we switched over to F-18 Super Hornets, E's to be exact. They're one-seaters. So man, people are going to fact check this. So for a while we were with the training squadron that was on our base. Basically learning this jet that was obviously just a little bit bigger than the predecessor Horner that everyone came through. I worked very little on it because there's this thing when you join the military that your recruiter doesn't tell you about. It's called TAD, which is an acronym for Temporary Assigned Duty. So when I was on that cruise, I think I was did my thing on the flight deck for, I'm going to say about 2-3 weeks, maybe a month at the most. And then I went TAD, which was actually, this was like the awesome TAD versus times 2 that I went TAD. And that's going to be another story. We'll just say I was the Admiral's bitch. So we get back, getting the new jets. This was, pre 9/11. I think we almost got most of our jets released to us from Boeing when 9/11 happened. Which again, that could be a whole different story in itself. Which I should probably write some of this down so I remember these stories for later. Rather than like, what are we going to talk about today? Of course, I don't have any scratch paper near me. Go figure. So, like I said, I was in a squadron, worked on jets, did basic maintenance because I was in an area called the line check. Remember, I went in undesignated, and pretty much what the line check did was we did all the hand signals, got the seats ready for the pilots, washed the aircraft, fueled the aircraft, towed them around. Basic stuff, but we did a lot of stuff. A lot of people hated it. I didn't mind it. I liked it. I kind of wished there was a job itself in the Navy. Drink. But, so yeah, I did that. We went on a few boat debts. Basically, we'd go out for 2 weeks, go out for 3 weeks, go out for a month. Did a couple land, I guess they're called land debts. We went to NES Fallon, which was in Nevada, south of Reno. Again, probably like a half hour, 45 minutes, just like how Fresno was to the home base. Then we finally had what we're going to call the big cruise, the main cruise, which left something like June 22nd, 2002. I don't know the exact. Give or take a day or two. So we left on this cruise to embark again to the Persian Gulf, but with the mighty Super Hornets under the squadron's belt, which I didn't say, but the squadron I was in was called VFA 115. Probably should have said that a little earlier, but I was too busy thinking of how I want to say things. So we started on this journey, and this is where I'm going to start where we visited. So, we went to Hawaii, which, I mean, it's like, ooh, Hawaii. Sasebo, Japan. Hong Kong. Where else? Singapore. Let's see, Bahrain. Again, for me that was the second time, because when we joined the ship, went to Bahrain and then flew onto the ship. That's actually how I got to the ship, was I flew onto it to kind of do a reverse back. So back to, let's see. So Bahrain. Let's see. Perth, Australia. That was twice, because again, we caught it on the way back. Or when I first joined. That first cruise, I caught the Perth. Then Hobart, Tasmania. That was on that first cruise. But yeah, then when so when we were leaving the Gulf, we made it back. We'll just say the Philippine area, and this was like right before the war was gonna get started, or we pretty much knew that we were gonna do our thing. So long story short, basically kind of like we were in Perth for, I believe it was like 5 days, if my memory serves me right. And our New Year's gift to all of us was that we were going back to the Persian Gulf, which we all knew what that meant. Drink. So we went back to Perth, Australia. We're there for 3 weeks as maintenance was done to the aircraft carrier, mainly the landing area. They put this rough material that we call non-skid on to help the jets land easier, stop, not slide, and all that good stuff. So we steamed, we get back to the Gulf, and yeah, everything starts up March 20th, 21st, something like that. I actually have a picture that's time stamped, and the flight deck is like empty, and it's marked, I believe, the day before everything started. And basically it was like the day before Bush did his whole speech in the morning. We basically crippled the communications and whatever other sites in Iraq before everything got going. So we finally get done with our little time over there. We get relieved from another carrier, and we make it back home 10 months later. May 2nd, I believe, 2003 now. We're finally pulling back into San Diego. So, like I said, very long time. Very long time. Drink. Then let's see. We get back. Our aircraft carrier goes into a dry dock. They had to do something with the core because it was a nuclear aircraft carrier. I think it was maintenance or replace it. I forget exactly what it was. I think they had to replace the core. Again, I'm not totally positive. It was a long time ago. So then in this process, the squadron, when I say we switched to a different aircraft carrier, which was the John C. Stennis, which was still also out of San Diego. And we got back from the big cruise, and everyone had their leave periods, and we did our normal routine of in between cruises. I think I did one more boat debt, if I remember correctly. It was like in January of 2004. I think it was like a 3-weeker, maybe it was a monther. I totally can't remember. And then that was the last time that I was on the ship because I left a month early because we were able to do that since I had enough time in the books to take off early. So I left. I think I left like the same day that they were either going on another boat debt or they were going on another cruise, the squadron. It was like in the beginning of May. But yeah, like I said, I was a little Cliff Note version. Then boom, then it's officially out on June 18th, 2004. But really, I was home. Sorry, drink. But really, I was home, a month prior because of all the time that I had banked up of leave. And really, I had more, so I got another check, almost another whole check, because I had so many days in the books. But so yeah, that was definitely a Cliff Notes of. I know I left a lot of acronyms in there. I tried to explain a little bit as we went along. But yeah, I would say that's definitely a Cliff Notes version of. I'm sure I'm leaving some things out, but we'll iron it out as I tell more Navy stories. And and we keep moving on in this podcast. I didn't say it again, but drink. Let's see, is there anything else we haven't covered? I know something we didn't cover yet. In case you haven't noticed yet, you are listening to Stories, Lies, and Shenanigans. I am the host, Ted, or as I like to say, That Exciting Dude. You can also see, we're going to end the podcast, but before I end it, you can also see That Exciting Dude on Twitch when I stream. I try to stream at least once, twice a week. You can also, I haven't done this yet, and I keep saying I'm going to do it, but I haven't done it, is you can go to That Exciting Dude on YouTube, and I'm also on TikTok. So all of those platforms you can go to see That Exciting Dude, or meh. Alright, we are at the 30-minute mark here in a couple seconds. I think this is a perfect amount of time for a podcast. So without further ado, before I get rambling, this is That Exciting Dude, and you know the drill. This is That Exciting Dude, and you just listen to stories, lies, and shenanigans. And did you notice the hiccups are gone? Peace.